The story of America does not begin in 1776. It does not start with powdered wigs, declarations on parchment. That is merely one chapter in a much older, much deeper saga. This story begins long before the first European ships scarred the horizon, in an age when the land itself was still being shaped by ice and time. Whispers on the winds across the vast plains, histories etched into the silent canyons of the Southwest, memories held in the ancient forests of the East. To understand this nation, we must first understand the land itself. We must listen to the echoes of its first peoples. They knew this continent not as a new world, but as a very, very old home. The stage for America's first human chapter was set by ice. During the last great ice age, massive glaciers, miles thick, locked up a significant portion of the world's water. This caused sea levels to drop dramatically. A vast bridge of land emerged, connecting Asia and North America. Beringia, a cold, windswept grass and shrub steppe, a world teeming with colossal beasts, woolly mammoths, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats. Across that landscape the first Americans made their way. Not explorers, hunters following the herds. Driven by survival, food, water, shelter. They carried their tools of stone and bone and their deep knowledge of the natural world. And the spark of human ingenuity. As ice sheets retreated, new corridors opened. They fanned out across the continents over millennia. They adapted to an incredible variety of environments, a journey that became one of the greatest in human history. As millennia passed, the descendants of those first migrants did more than just survive. They thrived. Across the continent, a stunning variety of societies emerged, each uniquely adapted to its region. In the fertile river valleys, the Mississippian culture built large towns sustained by farming and trade. Cahokia, a city that rivaled medieval London, its central mound 10 stories high. Maize, beans, squash. In the canyons of the Southwest, the ancestral Puebloans mastered dry land living. They built multi-story cliff dwellings and intricate irrigation systems. In the Northeast, the Iroquois Confederacy formed, a union of nations governed by councils and oral constitution. Their balanced representative governance would later intrigue some American founders. Many of these societies faded, leaving enigmatic earthworks and ruins as their testimony. Yet their influence, their knowledge and their names remain threaded through the land. Long before Columbus, Norse sagas spoke of lands to the west. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson sailed into a world unknown to Europe. They landed on a forested coast with rushing salmon rivers and wild grapes. They called it Vinland, a paradise beside the ocean. Archaeology at Lons Meadows confirmed saga stories. Foundations, workshops, Norse artifacts, bronze pins, iron nails, and smelting residue told a Norse tale in stone and metal. Their settlement lasted perhaps only a decade or two. Far from reinforcements and often in hostile contact with native peoples, they withdrew. Their story faded to a whisper, a compelling footnote before the great waves of later contact. A brief, fascinating encounter between two worlds that were not yet ready to collide. 5 centuries later, another voyage would redraw the map of the world. That voyage would change everything. In Europe, a new age was dawning, of navigation, maps, and ambition. Technologies and desire for new routes to Asia set the stage for long voyages. In August of 1492, Columbus sailed west with 3 small ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. They sailed for weeks into a vast empty ocean. On October 12th, a lookout spotted land. Columbus had landed in the Bahamas and encountered the Taino people, whom he called Indians. His voyage connected 2 hemispheres and began the Columbian exchange. Crops like maize and potatoes transformed diets. Horses, cattle, and diseases moved the other way. For native peoples, contact brought a cataclysm, epidemics of smallpox, measles, and more. Entire populations were decimated by disease and colonial violence. News of discovery electrified Europe and unleashed an age of exploration, conquest, and colonization. Greed, faith, and empire would reshape the Americas forever. The European discovery opened the floodgates, from trickle to tide. Explorers, conquistadors, and later steady streams of colonists arrived. Some came for gold, some for land, some for freedom, to worship and live as they chose. The voyage was perilous, crowded, and disease-ridden. Many never survived the passage, yet still they came, mixing skills, languages, and hopes. English influences, Dutch, German, Scottish, Irish, and many more. Tragically, millions of Africans were enslaved and brought in chains, transforming the continent forever. From the start, America was a mosaic of peoples, clashing and mingling. Ambition and resilience laid the foundations of towns, farms, and a new society. A nation was being born on the promise of a new beginning. By the mid-18th century, the British colonies had a character all their own. Accustomed to self-government, colonists bristled at new taxes and controls. Acts like the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts provoked fierce resistance. No taxation without representation. Escalations, from the Boston Massacre to the Tea Party, hardened resolve. April 1775, shots in Lexington and skirmishes at Concord ignited a long struggle. Farmers, merchants, and citizens faced the might of Britain. On July 4, 1776, the colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence. It proclaimed that all men are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. With crucial aid from France, the improbable happened. Independence was won. In 1787, leaders crafted a bold experiment, the United States Constitution, establishing separation of powers: legislative, executive, judicial. For much of its early history, the United States tried to avoid entangling alliances and focused inward. It expanded westward and industrialized. In 1917, America entered World War I, tipping the balance with fresh troops and industrial might. Victory came at immense cost. The country briefly retreated into isolation afterward. World War II pulled America back into global conflict after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Its industry roared: planes, tanks, ships, an unprecedented war effort. American forces fought from Normandy to Pacific Islands. The nation stood at the center of the Allied victory. By 1945, the old European order was broken, and the United States emerged as a superpower. The American story is a story of layers, of first peoples, colonists, enslaved people, immigrants, and innovators. Diversity has fueled creativity and conflict. The struggle to reconcile liberty and equality continues. The history of America is still being written, with each generation adding its own chapter. It is a dream perpetually pursued, imperfect, unfinished, but enduring.